Be like Berl. Be the good in the world. Be like Berl.
Hey everybody, welcome to our Be Like Berl podcast, where we interview teens and young adults about a tragedy, trial, or tribulation they dealt with as a child, and Jesus brought them through it by using folks in their lives who were being like Berl. Today's guest is here, but before I hand it over to Rachel, remember to like, subscribe, comment, and share. Rachel.
All right. Hey, everybody. Today we have in the studio with us Miss Kaylee Jones.
Woohoo!
Kaylee, just go ahead and tell us a little bit about your backstory and why you're here. To start with, what would have brought you on our podcast? What trial or tribulation did you go through as a teen or young adult?
Okay, so as growing up, I was a preacher's kid, so there was there's always been a lot of eyes on me and stuff like that. But I grew up having, I guess, I don't know how to say it, to be looked upon as to do right, I guess. So I guess I rebelled a lot when I graduated high school. I never had anything, usually with people who are doing drugs or who are addicted to something. They usually come from a past who, they've seen it as they grew up, or, they had family members who are doing it in front of them and stuff, but I never had that. So the friends I was around, though, that's who, you are who you hang around. So as I was out of high school, didn't go to college or anything, started work, got into the wrong group of friends, started using drugs, started off just, the simple Lortab here and there, and then it slowly progressed to Opana and things like that. Eventually, I did get to where I was doing heroin on a daily basis for about 2 years, I would say. And it was just one of those things where I never thought in my life I would ever get to something like that. Because you look at people like that and you just think gross, like you don't ever want to be like that. But, as an addict, once you do it one time, it's over with. It's something that is the best feeling you've ever felt in your entire world. It's just something that, fills you. I don't know. It's weird to explain, but it's just something that you love doing because it just feels so good.
Right. As sin usually does.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Absolutely.
How old were you when you tried your first whatever? Do you remember?
I was 18.
18.
Mm-hmm.
And that, you said about being a preacher's daughter. You hear that a lot. I mean, there's a stigma with that, but it is true. I mean, isn't it? It's. Do you remember being young and you're being in church and all those eyes being on you? Do you remember that pressure? Is it still fresh in your mind even at this point of
absolutely
how hard it was to be the preacher's kid?
Oh yeah, I mean, I would drive to school and I would be smoking a cigarette on the way to school. I'd have 3 people call my dad that morning and say, "Hey, I saw your daughter smoking a cigarette on the way to school." So I could not get away with a single thing, and I don't know if that made me rebel more or what was the reason, but I took it to the next level of rebelling. Like I had a super nice Altima. Was at a party one night, come home, there was a piece of crap car in the driveway. Dad said, "You can either stay here and keep your nice Altima, or you can leave and not come back and take that piece of crap that's outside." What I do, I left, took that piece of crap, and took a bag of clothes and lived here and there for a while until they finally, let me come back. And it was just one of those things where I just absolutely did not care. I thought I was invincible. I could get away with anything because of who my dad was. I thought, go past the police, they'd be like, "Hey, you need to, do this or I'm going to have to get you in trouble." And it would always be a slap on the wrist. I would never, ever get in trouble. I've never been to jail, thank God. maybe I probably should have at that point, but I thank God I haven't. I am glad. The only good thing I can say about the situation is I'm glad I did do it at a young age and not an older age, because I feel like I would probably have more of a trouble getting out of it at an older age. But it's just one of those things that it started and it was extremely hard to stop.
So when you were in high school, I remember Kaylee Jones, Kaylee Pickard, the basketball player. So you had sports going for you. Was drugs even a thing for you in high school though? Because you were so busy with sports. I would think you wouldn't have had time for anything like that. And knowing you wouldn't have wanted to mess up a basketball career.
No, that was definitely one thing I could not do in high school because I was so focused on basketball, and our basketball coach was pretty much like a drill sergeant, but he was also like a second dad to me. And the only things I was doing in high school was, partying and drinking and stuff like that, but it wasn't at that level at all. It was just one of those things that started outside of high school. There were kids that I was hanging around eventually that was already doing it in high school. So it just progressed to when I got out. And some of those people have sadly passed away because of overdose in those situations. But I pretty much tried to stay on the straight and narrow in high school. I had basketball scholarships. I could have went to college, and it was one of those choices I didn't do. And
is that because you were already working on your rebellion stage at that point? Is that why you didn't go to school, you think? Or?
I think so. I think it was because our basketball coach, we were in the gym from the day he got there, which was my freshman year, till the day I graduated, summer and all. Season ended, right into the gym. We were lifting weights at 5 o'clock in the morning before school. We were running 3 miles before school at 5 o'clock in the morning. Like, I feel like I had no time to do anything,
Gotcha.
live actual life, I guess. So it was one of those things where I just wanted to take a break as soon as high school was over and just, relax, work, I'll figure it out later. So I think it's just, I had too much time on my hands to.
Right. So our other story, which was Cole with the drug addict, he kind of did this. He said the same thing. Like, I don't have anything that I felt like led me to this. And for you, you're coming on and saying like, I don't have any, there was no trauma, right? I just had a lot of pressure and then too much time on my hands, which I think is kind of, should be, some parents need to hear that.
Yeah, and I'm a people pleaser, and if someone asks me to do something, I'm going to do it. And I never said no.
You get that honest from your dad.
Yes, I do. I'm the worst people pleaser. And as I've gotten older, I've gotten to where, like, I try to steer away from people. Just like, if I can be at home with my kids and my husband and I don't have to leave the house, period, that's what I'm going to do. I don't even get involved with nobody no more. I'll text a friend here and there, but I don't ever go out and do anything no more. I like to be where I'm at because I feel like I did that so much. I was never, ever home, ever. Even like in high school, I was always at somebody else's house. I was always, partying on the weekends. But pretty much up until I went to rehab, I was never home. And then it, slowly got to the point.
We've talked a lot about, and I want to bring up something that's definitely a debated topic, but people talk about sports burnout in kids, and some kids are fine with it, some are not. It's one thing that definitely has showed us that kids are different. Each child is different, but you can see in your case, you were like, you had a little burnout.
Yeah,
you was like,
100%.
Well, I need to take a break and get away from that and get to work, and led you down the path. What was do you remember the actual moment that you took your first drug, Lortab, is that what you said?
Yeah, I do. Not that, but the Opana. I don't even think you can get that anymore because it was such a street drug that was the main thing people were about. Like, it was $60 a pill, $60 to $80 a pill, and that one pill would be gone in like 30 minutes. And it was easy for me. Like, I never had to use myself to get drugs, I guess, because of my parents. I was extremely sneaky. Like, I could crawl into their room 1 o'clock in the morning, lights off, dig in the purse, get the credit card, take the car, go to the ATM, get cash, drive to Nashville, get what I need, come back. They never know. And I did that so many times, getting the money back at the restaurant, all kind of stuff. So I had like easy access to money. I never had to like use myself to get it. And the very first time I remember using it was at a friend's house at a big party, and our friend group in high school was like 30 of us. Like there was a bunch of us, and it was every single weekend we were together, and it was just a constant, easy. At first, I could buy one pill and make it last maybe 2 or 3 days, and then it got to where it was just slowly, and I was spending like $200 to $300 a day, maybe at that, if I could get the money.
So you said something a while ago that I meant to go back and touch on, but I think it's really important here to note for anybody that's listening that you said you just had a slap on the wrist when you were just pulled over, or when something happened, it was a slap on the wrist. So you really didn't learn a lesson from any of that. And I think that's real important for parents and officers and everybody to understand that, like, those slap on the wrist come with this potential, right? Like, had something happened earlier on, a little wake up call or whatever, it's just such a timing thing, I realize, but the slap on the wrist thing really comes back to bite sometimes.
Oh, absolutely. And I wish, the people like that would have took me more seriously into being like, we need to do something about this so it don't go any further, or, knowing who I was hanging around and stuff like that. Like, I wish the adults would have put me in my place, more than they should have. And it's nobody else's fault besides my own.
Right.
But it was just, because it did eventually lead to me, I was shooting up. I was using a needle for a couple years. I would go to my old mom and poppy's house. I would steal my poppy's pills. I would go into their bathroom. I would turn the shower on, act like I was showering. I would shoot up in their bathroom. I would do it anywhere I could. And that was the scary, because, I wasn't thinking about, there could be an air bubble in this, or there could, So I really wasn't thinking, again, like I thought I was invincible. I was just doing what I thought, what I wanted, and I wasn't thinking about the consequences that come with it.
What led up to what happened to the blow up when your dad met you outside and said, it's time for you to go?
With the car thing.
With the car thing. Were you partying?
Oh, yeah.
Coming back from what? Did he find out? How did that?
No, they were trying to get in touch with me, but of course I wasn't answering, and I come back to the house for something, and that's when they, gave me the ultimatum. And there was one time where I was at the same house. Mom was trying to call me. I was super, super messed up, passed out on the couch. She knew where I was, and she come there, banged on the door, slung open the door, come in the house, looked at that mom, because the mom was there, like she would party with us. And she grabbed me right up, put me right in the car. She made me drive home, which she regrets now. Like, I shouldn't have drove home, but she was behind me, got home. They didn't know how to deal with anything like that.
Right.
Of course, I was their first kid, and they're not expecting me to become a drug addict because, he's a preacher. I was a great basketball player. I did good in school, stuff like that. So it wasn't one of those things that it was expected.
You're the perfect example, though, of you never know what kid is into what. Just because they had a messed up childhood, just because they come from whatever, doesn't necessarily mean that they're the one that you have to worry about. It could be the kid that's got it looks like everything is great.
That's got it all. Yeah.
So I wanted to say too, you just said that, like, you wish that adults had intervened potentially sooner, which is, again, you took accountability for. I'm not saying, but and I just wanted to speak on the fact of, as a parent, what a fine line that is for, like, wanting to let them learn a lesson, but yet then having to put a foot down, because what's going to happen when I put the foot down? They're going to run away and do exactly what you did, and what Chrissy talks about Cole doing is, like, then it's a whole nother set of worrying, right? But
Yeah.
But boy, I could see your mama coming in and snatching you up.
Oh yeah, she was not.
I can paint that picture right now. Sean just laughed too because he can see it too.
She was not happy. That was not a good day for anybody. Nobody in that household, either household.
That's crazy. But, we have, of course, dealt with the same thing with our son. We had to get to a point where his wasn't drug related, but his was just
Attitude adjustment.
When he was 18, it was like, okay, look, this is you only have two options: either follow the rules and live here, or don't follow the rules and not. I mean, that's literally it. But one thing I am so proud of you for saying the exact same thing Cole did, and she said it was nobody's fault but my own. And Cole was the same way. He said, the first and foremost, you got to go. It's I did this to myself.
I took the drugs. I did this.
That's very cool.
Yeah. I never had I knew I had a problem. Like, I never had a problem saying, I know what I'm doing is not okay. Like, I know I have a problem. It was just stopping. Because when you get to that point of you doing it so much, you're going through the withdrawals. Like, if you try to, you feel like you're dying. And some people can't do it without, medical treatment and stuff like that, because you will go into shock, or if you're that heavily into it. So the first week of rehab for me was like the worst thing I've ever experienced of my body. It's like having the flu, but times 1,000. And it is just the worst thing you can ever go through. And that's why you're constantly, as soon as you go to sleep, you're thinking about where you're going to get it. As soon as you wake up, you're going to go get it, or thinking about where you're going to get it. You're constantly thinking about where you're going to get your stuff every day, every second. Always looking over your shoulder. It was so exhausting.
So, and you just talked about rehab. So let's talk about what made you get to the point of going to rehab.
There was just one day, I think my dad came up to me. He said, "You have one option." Actually, I don't even think he gave me an option. He said, "This is what you're doing. This is what we're doing. And you have no choice." And I was like, at that point, I said, okay, I think I really do need to go. And so we went to Memphis. I was there for the full 30 days. It was really nice. And I think it only took me that one time to go to be like, I do not want to come back here, because I did not like it. There was women that were in their 60s there, and I was looking at them like, I do not want to be that at all. And then, hearing stories of them losing their family, just losing everything they got. And the only person I had that I was worried about was my sister Ruby, was because she looked up to me so much that she was the only one that I was wanting to do better for besides myself. And, she would cry if she saw me smoke a cigarette. It was just, she was so about.
And she's very by the book. This is the rules. We don't break the rules.
She still is like that till this day.
Yeah.
And it just, so I really did it for her mainly. She thought I was in college the whole time.
Bless her.
I know. But, yeah.
Well, the similarities between you and Cole's story is crazy.
I know. I'm just sitting here thinking that too.
Yeah, because she's talking about doing it for Ruby, and Cole was for his mama. But it was first saying that it's me. I'm the problem. I need to fix it, and then having that person that you love very much. It's like, if I'm not, I need to straighten up.
Well, because sometimes, obviously, Kaylee's talking about how she didn't care what she was doing, so she did lack respect for herself, which is big. We just talked about this in the youth ministry class with the kids. You have to respect yourself, your God, your family. Respect is this underlying thing before you can build on it for relationships or anything. And she obviously didn't respect herself because she was doing it. So why would she respect herself enough to go to rehab? Right. She didn't care, about herself as much as she obviously did Ruby.
What were you when your dad came to you and said, "Hey, were you at home?"
I was sitting on the front porch, and I can remember it like it was yesterday. And he gave me that ultimatum, and he said, "We're leaving in the morning." And morning came, and
it's great that it only took you 30 days in rehab to realize this is not something I want to do for the rest of my life. Because some people go to rehab several times for, months at a time, and they don't learn the lesson that you did in 30 days, which I think, one, speaks volumes for the amount of love you had for your family, wanting to get back for them, and two, just how much God was there in your situation, and your probably a little bit of your faith, you kind of hit back to that,
That's when, because I was thinking about that before I got here, that's when I went to rehab, that is when I actually had actual faith. Like when I was praying every single night, when I needed somebody, when I needed, things to get better, and I just had all this hope. And that's when I really put everything I had into God that whole month. And, obviously it works when you want to have faith.
Right.
I love going deeper. That's just me. But why were you on the porch that day?
I think I was talking to a friend on the phone. Like, I'm sure I was trying to find something at that point because,
That's what you did, right?
When was I not?
Right.
And because I know I didn't have it then. And, he just had come out, I think, because the night before or the day before, I had a friend who brought some over to the house. She went upstairs, put it in my room. My mom followed her up there because she was like, this is a little suspicious, because I was somewhere else and I couldn't meet her. And Mom went up there, had it. Well, that night, I was crying, bawling, saying, give it to me, I need it.
Wow.
And she would not give it to me. Well, she eventually did give it to me because it was like, she didn't know what to do. And as a kid, some parents also, when you watch some shows, like they'll give them money because they know that's what they're wanting, but they would much rather be the ones to give it to them instead of them go out and I guess find a way to get it themselves. Right. I don't know what her reason was for giving it back to me. I guess because I was just screaming and bawling and crying and, didn't want to go through that withdrawal. So it was the night before when that happened, and Dad came up to me that next day and was like, no, we're going.
Yeah. So there was evidently a long conversation between Mom and Dad that night.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, she probably let him have it.
Yeah.
right. And Dad was like, okay, we gotta take care of this.
Yeah. But it was Halloween night also, and I remember coming home and Dad having a feeling about what I was doing. Well, he went through my purse, he found the spoon, he found the needle, he found the drugs. Looked at my hand, I had all these, track marks on my hands, and we all just sat there and cried.
It was the night before?
No, this was actually a while before, because this is when we were living at the Fairfield house beside Fairfield.
Oh, gotcha.
And when I went to rehab, we were back where Mom and Dad live now. So, it was going on for quite a long while. And it got, also, I've never actually spoke about this to anybody besides, some people or my family and stuff. But, I contracted Hep C through that whole thing. They didn't have a cure for it. So when I had Ava and Ezra, they both contracted it as well. So they both had it until they come out with some medicine for the kids. So they both took the medicine. They're clear. I'm clear now. But that's also one of those things that I wasn't thinking about in my future of, this could possibly happen. I could carry this along with me and then my kids be affected from it. And, that really, I think, hurt me more than anything was knowing that I brought it along with me to my
kids. Even though you were fully recovered and doing well. Yeah. I can see the emotions starting to swell up in you. And
I can see the mama tears coming.
It's going to make me cry.
But that's, that goes to show you the strength behind her, is that it never had anything to do with anybody else. It was just something that she did that was her own. She was being selfish at the time. Most kids are, right? And it's not something you just don't learn it until later. You have the hard lesson and it come back and
that's why we hope that somebody will see this podcast,
right,
and say like, man, Kaylee went through this, and either I have the strength to go to rehab, or man, I just got offered something, and I'm glad I don't. I'm not going to take it because I learned from Kaylee's podcast.
Or a young girl that has dreams of being a mom and sees your story and goes, wait, I don't want to do that to them.
Yeah.
And put them through that. So
Yeah, because I mean, you're just thinking about then and that. You're not thinking about the future at all. And went to rehab for a month. It was from April to May. And as soon as I got out, I got a job at Cracker Barrel, and that's where I met my husband, Weston. And we literally started living with each other within the month of us meeting, like, no joke. And of course, my parents were like, oh, great, she's right back on the roll again, because I was living with them in Dixon, and we were actually living at these motels. And I was like, it looks what it looks like, but it's not what it looks like. Like, I'm not doing anything. But there was a time or two where I did try to get some stuff, and Weston was like, we're not doing that. Like, if you start doing that, I'm not going to stick around. We're not doing that. So he was I probably could have kept going if I wanted to. I could have started right back up. But if it wasn't for him saying he wasn't going to stick around,
I've never heard that aspect of the story. So it's interesting that you said Weston gave you this ultimatum. That's the first time we've heard that part of the story. Like, we knew your parents had been worried about you and put you through rehab. But so talk a little bit about Weston, which is Kaylee's husband. So,
we met at Cracker Barrel. Like I said, we started literally living with each other within like a month of us meeting each other. And so we got to where we got our own apartment, and it got to where I also started thinking about, wanting to get into doing drugs, I guess, again. And I asked around, and he was not about it. And he, because I told him, I said, well, I'm going to have somebody come over here just in a minute and, drop some stuff off. He said, no, you're not. And he said, if you start doing that again, he said, I will not stick around. So I knew I was happy where I was at. I knew, that's what I needed, because I know I love my parents. My parents love me, but it wasn't going to take them to stop me. I feel like I don't know why I needed something to lose, I guess. Right. So losing him, I wasn't going to lose my parents because they would always be there.
Right.
But losing him, having that ultimatum was something I needed. And because if I didn't have it, I probably still would be doing stuff till this day.
And that kind of goes back to the slap on the wrist thing. Like, this is somebody actually telling you no, right?
Yeah. And that's what I always needed, which I don't blame my parents, because again, I was their first kid. It's not something that, they would have ever expected me to do. So they didn't know how to deal with the situation, but I just wish I would have been told no a whole lot more. Maybe I would have learned, to say no, because I was always told yes. So, I was given everything I ever wanted. If I asked for it, I would, it would be given to me. So it was just, I don't know. It was one of those things where.
I'm glad to hear you say that, though, because so many people relate drug use back to some kind of trauma. So I feel like this is good for parents to hear that, like, it can be from the other way too. Like, you're giving them everything, and now we've also created this problem. Not that it's Devin and Angie's fault, and we love Devin and Angie, and we're total friends with them and going out to dinner with them this weekend. But I'm just saying, like, it's good for people to hear it. Like, this, God is going to use this situation, and somebody's going to listen to this podcast and go, man, I need to set some boundaries right now, or I need to have a hard conversation with my kid right now, right? And so,
well, in Devin and Angie's defense, they did get to that point.
Oh yeah,
it took them a little bit, like you said, their first child, and then they had to learn again a hard way, like you did, and then they finally had to say no. Put down. And
coming from parents who've had to draw a boundary line, it's such a hard line of like, when do we do that, and what's going to happen afterwards. So, anyways, continue with Weston though, because now I love him even more.
I mean, If it wasn't for him, I wouldn't be who I am today, I don't think. And of course, he's given me 2 beautiful kids.
He's a baby daddy.
Baby daddy. Baby daddy. And everything happened so quickly. Literally we met that summer. We moved to Mississippi with his parents that November. Got pregnant that next February, had Ava that November, then got married that next September. So everything happened like within a couple years span. And we just celebrated our 10-year marriage last year.
That's awesome.
So it's one of those things I definitely prayed for. I prayed to have somebody in my life to, keep me grounded, and I feel like I found it for sure.
I love that. And tell us how you feel like God has worked in your situation through all of this. I mean, obviously you were a child raised in faith, and we know that train up a child in the way you should go. When they're old, they will not depart from it. So, I feel like that plays out here with you. That your faith, even though you may not have had as much of a relationship, being the preacher's kid can kind of go a couple different ways. Sometimes they don't have as much of a relationship, and then sometimes they're leading the church. It just depends on the child. But I feel like your faith, that Bible verse rings out for you because your faith came back to play in rehab. So how else did God work in your situation?
I mean, pretty much, I couldn't tell you a single thing I couldn't tell you a Bible verse back then. I never paid attention because in my mind I was like, oh, well, I hear my dad preaching all the time anyways. I really don't even have to, why do I need to listen at church? And why do I even need to go? Because I hear it all the time. I never put any kind of faith, never really prayed anything like that until I went to rehab. And like I said, I prayed every single night. But having that faith and feeling, knowing that you can rely on him to listen, and that's comfort. That was comfort for me because I didn't have anybody there at all besides people who I was there with. So that's really how he helped me through that whole thing. Was
you just started your relationship back with him.
Exactly.
Well, and then from that he brought you Weston. And then of course 2 wonderful kids.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know on here I put, or I had, one of the questions we had asked was, what encouragement or words of wisdom do you want to say to folks that might be listening to help them get through or to cope with a similar situation? And one of the things that you had put was that saying no is okay, and staying true to who you are and those that you hang out with. So choose your friends wisely.
Yeah, because I mean that's the only reason I started doing drugs. If it wasn't for who I was hanging out with, I would have never started. It was one of those things where it was right there in front of me, and I wasn't going to say no. And
because you're a people pleaser, that goes back to that.
And whatever was in front of my face, I would have done it. I mean, it don't matter what the drug was, what the drink was. I would have done it, and you couldn't have told me no because I wouldn't have told you no either. But
yeah. One of the things that I wrote down, seeing your answer, was Titus 2:11-12, which is saying no to ungodliness and worldly possessions, and to live self-controlled, upright, and godly lives. And I feel like that you have learned that lesson, and this Bible verse speaks to how you live now. And that, I think, to me, that talks about how God has worked in your life. Is like you were like this. You went to rehab, you started praying, and all these things have happened, and now you've learned to say no. I mean, I had wrote this Bible verse down before you got here, and then a while ago she said, I like to just stay at home and stay away from people because I know me, and I can't, and I don't do well with saying no, and I want to stay the way I am and clean and sober, and so I just stay at home and with me and the kids. And I had wrote this Bible verse down before she came here, so it's like I just feel like she just lives this out now.
Yeah. That I love being at home. I've had a pretty wild life, I would say. There's been quite a few situations I've been in that are very questionable. I don't think you would mind. Well, let's say I had a friend. We went to Chattanooga together. It was an adult, should have been an adult, but was also doing drugs. We were doing drugs there on the way back. But while we were there, she got me into, we were actually stripping at a strip club for the weekend.
Oh, goodness.
Like we were, that's to where I was at the point to where I had no care about myself whatsoever.
Mm-mm.
Like that was kind of, in my mind, I was like, oh my God, I cannot believe, but I didn't care because whatever I was doing, I was getting whatever I wanted in return. And that's, I don't know. It was one of those stories that I can't believe actually happened, but it did because of, the stuff I was doing.
Right.
And
now looking back at the mother of two, like I could see you like beating Ava.
100%. Yeah. I would have a stroke.
Ava's gonna be like, Mom, can we go to Chattanooga? No.
No, nobody's going to Chattanooga. I'm sorry.
So we've talked about, just your relationship, getting back, and how God brought you through that. One of the things that we didn't talk about was like, who were the people who were being like Berl during your time of like the drug use and the things? So someone who offered love, truth, and kindness to you, and you wrote down your parents. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that we talked about while we were on break a while ago and the cameras were cut off was that love and truth and kindness came from both your family. I mean, again, you going to rehab and making it out in 30 days speaks volumes for your family's love. And anybody who knows the Pickards and Weston and Kaylee know that y'all have a love for each other that you don't see in every family. Y'all all love each other so much. But that truth also came with your dad putting his foot down and saying, we're done with this, right? Like, yeah,
I needed tough love for sure.
Right.
I tried to use the excuse like, oh, my parents were, they were showing me too much love. They were overdoing it, and that's what drove me to, doing drugs, which is a lie because there's no such thing as too much love. But I needed that. I needed them to be serious with me and to be like, if you don't do something now, then we're going to have to do it.
Right.
So it took a lot of kicking me out, doing this and that, and then finally going to rehab. But if it was not for, my dad doing that, I probably wouldn't have went, period. If I didn't have someone make me go, I wouldn't have went. But when he told me I needed to go, I was like, I need to take this opportunity because if I don't, I'm not going anywhere with it. I'm gonna end up dead or
right. Well, and like you said, some people that you ran with have ended up dead, right?
Mm-hmm.
And like Cole, it's your story is so much about family, right? Mm-hmm. Which Berl is. There's a lot of family oriented stuff in Berl's books, and you had mentioned when you were talking about who was being like Berl, your mom and dad, of course, Ruby, because she was somebody that loved you and looked up to you. Weston. I look at him, and he was definitely Berl, looking
Absolutely.
back. And so, you haven't mentioned anyone in particular, and you probably can't, that were being like Berl and showing much love and kindness like those people right there. Mm-hmm. Your family. That just goes to show strength in family.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I realize that we talk about like, you're talking about a span of a couple of years, and so I know there's lots of things that there's probably so many more details in it that even could be discussed, and there's so many. I would bet that if we had your mom and dad sitting here beside you and we said, how has God worked in your situation? Your mom would be like, well, we just prayed every night. We prayed every night and we just didn't stop praying. And so, and Christy talked about this too. Mm-hmm. There's so much going into it that like when the addict is in something and their parents are the ones just praying them through it and carrying them through it and not to like I don't want to say something that would like I'm not trying to punish you or anything, but like a lot of times the addicts don't realize that everybody's looking or talking or whatever, but the parents are the ones that are going through that, kind of suffering alongside for a completely different reason, while worrying about their kids. And
and Kaylee can understand that now with being a
absolutely.
mama too.
Right.
I mean, and of course, you know, when my dad was at Fairfield, I was doing a lot of that stuff there. Like, you know, people would talk to him about it, and the stuff would come back on them more than me. And I completely understand, you know, the embarrassment and, you know, stuff like that, because you don't want your, you know, a preacher's kid especially to, you know, have that title.
I would bet, though, if you asked him if he was here, he would say more than the embarrassment, for lack of a better term, it was the worry because of the love he had for you.
Sure.
You know, it's like you think about it from a parent's point of view. He was probably at some point, it's like, I care less about the embarrassment. It's the love and the ache that he had. You know, like if it would have been ours or if it had been yours, you know, that, from the parent's point of view, that would have been probably the hardest.
And I think that also speaks, like Devin could actually, and he may have before. I'm on the kids' side, so I don't ever get to, I hear the sermons at random, but not every Sunday. But I think that could speak for him to be able to say, that's how our Heavenly Father feels about us when we're like the lost sheep, you know, which is kind of what you were. And that pain that Devin felt, that worry is what our Heavenly Father feels when we're strayed. So, anything else you want to add to this? Because I do want to add something about something good, but anything else you want to add to your story?
I don't think so.
So one of the things I had put on here was, are there any things that you want us to talk about to celebrate with you? And you put none that you can think of. But I would like to point out that Miss Kaylee, the recovering drug addict, or the recovered drug addict, let's say recovered and not recovering, but recovered drug addict, has been volunteering at the tutorial center and has been a huge asset to the organization. And she keeps things organized and clean like nobody has done there before. And so I don't know where you picked up the OCD along the line.
I don't either.
But it has paid off for us at tutorial. And I just wanted to say that is something that when you were going through all of this, somebody probably wouldn't have one day said, well, she's going to have 2 kids in private homeschool and be homeschooling them, and she's going to be there volunteering at a church homeschool.
Nope. Nobody.
Not during the stripping days in Chattanooga.
No, not during those days for sure.
But we are proud to have you, and we don't see you as the addict and the somebody who did something crazy in Chattanooga. Yeah. We don't see you as that. Everybody sees you as Ava and Ezra's mom, and I think they all just love you.
I see you as a very, very strong woman that has overcome a lot, and that does come from a good family, and from that has created a good family, and you can just teach others. There's so many girls out there that could look up to you that are going to be coming out of high school having those same struggles, and they can look at Kaylee and go, I can do this. Right. I can overcome this because of you. So you should be very, very proud of where you are.
I am. Thank you.
You want to close us out in prayer?
Yes, we always close in prayer.
Okay.
All right, so y'all bear with me. Heavenly Father, we thank you so much for Kaylee. We thank you for her strength. We thank you for being with her, Father, through all that time, being able to bring her through that, Lord, being able to be that light for her to be able to grab a hold of you and to get pulled from that. And we thank you for where she's come today, and we thank you for all the things that she does to help at the tutorial center, Lord, and for at the restaurant, and for being a light unto others and to help grow your kingdom. And Lord, we pray that you please be with her, continue being with her and her family, and take care of them. It's in Jesus' name that we pray. Amen.
Amen.
All right, guys. Well, that'll do it for today's podcast. Thank you so much for being here with us. We look forward to our next episode, which airs every other Wednesday. Remember that our Be Like Berl podcast is inspired by our book character, Berl Squeever. You can get his books by logging on to our website, berlsqueever.com. Click the purchase link up top. Everyone stay safe. Be like Berl. God bless.